I have Eric Coley joining me on this episode to talk about Indigo Protocol. They're just about to launch. They're going through the last final stages to launch on the Cardano blockchain, and I'm pretty excited about having another protocol, another DeFi protocol launch on the blockchain as well. So this one's all about creating a synthetic version of something else in the ecosystem, the blockchain ecosystem to be exact, such as Bitcoin or Ethereum or Ripple or whatever it is. And it's a synthetic or a virtual representation of that actual asset. So it's not a collateralized version of that asset and you can redeem for it. It's actually a virtual representation, so you can trade against the price action and the movement of it and use your ADA as the collateral to create those synthetic assets. So it's a really interesting protocol. I haven't played around with synthetics before, but it's really interesting to see. And of course, you can also create a synthetic version of the USD. So they may very well be the very first synthetic version of USD launch on the Cardano blockchain. So we will have a stablecoin very, very soon. Now they're going through some really interesting things at the moment. One of them is the liquidity bootstrapping event. So if you're familiar with MinSwap and some of their other bootstrapping events, they did one with Mikosi. They did one for their own token as well with the MinSwap launch, and they'll be going through this launch bowl process where users will be able to provide liquidity to the liquidity pool to try and determine the price for the Indy token. Now, that's absolutely awesome. I love that approach where the community is able to determine the price. If it's too high, they can pull out the liquidity without suffering any loss at that point in time. So if it's if a lot of people are getting in and the price is getting too high, you get cold feet, you can pull all your assets back out. So the liquidity bootstrapping event is a really nice way of determining that price for a particular token. Now they also have a token distribution through the single stake pool operators, that particular alliance as well. So if you're delegated to a single stake pool operator, you'll be able to claim their token as well. A little bit of details in the video around that. So if you're not going through this launch bowl process and getting the tokens through here, you'll be able to claim it through their platform if you're staked to a single stake pool operator. I think that snapshot has already been taken, so you may have missed out if you're not already delegated somewhere there. Okay, now this is really interesting. I absolutely love this protocol. I met Eric over at Rare Bloom as well. So let's get into this interview. I'm joined by Eric Coley from Indigo, and we're going to talk about the protocol here. They're doing some really interesting and amazing things in the Cardano ecosystem. Now, I know a lot of you haven't heard of it before, but we're going to dive into it and learn exactly what value it's going to bring to the Cardano ecosystem. So, Eric, welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Now, we met at Rare Bloom, and it was a pleasure actually meeting you and actually sitting on a panel with you as well and discussing everything around regulations and whatnot. But can we get a little bit of an overview of how you got into the crypto space and your involvement in the Cardano ecosystem?
Yeah, happy to. So I have a 15-year background in enterprise tech, consulting, really just a wide range of different telephony, hosted software, hosted infrastructure solutions. So I found myself in crypto in 2017, really just exploring a lot of different Ethereum layer 2 solutions and found Cardano. I really aligned with the ethos of Cardano. Never really looked back from there. So in 2021, as the prior summer of DeFi had happened. And as an entrepreneur, I was looking to make a pivot from this Web 2 space to the Web 3 space. It was an obvious jump for me. So in 2021, founded Indigo Labs. So we're developing Indigo Protocol, as many people know. Just phenomenal experience and quite a fun journey so far to be a trailblazer on Cardano and bringing a lot of different innovative ideas together. Indigo is a very disruptive protocol. And the way it's looking right now will probably be one of the first DeFi dApps to launch along with our other colleagues. Just a long history of tech, and just really excited to be a part of this new Web3 space and really bring it to a more robust and I guess mass adoption is what we're all going for. So hopefully in the coming years, that's what we'll see.
It's definitely an exciting place to start building, and the opportunities here in the Cardano ecosystem are definitely there, especially for the first movers, the ones that are building the initial protocols on the chain. Now, with Indigo Protocol, the tagline is like tokenize everything, tokenize the real world economy. What does that actually mean? Like, can I tokenize?
Sure.
Yeah. What can I tokenize? Yeah,
there's a lot of community jokes around tokenizing. Pocket lint has been a joke, but that's really a far-fetched idea. I think really what Indigo brings here is the potential to tokenize real-world and digital assets. We track them, so our technology tracks any real-world asset, any digital asset, and through Indigo, we can mint synthetic assets. We call them iAssets. They're on-chain Cardano native tokens that track the price or value of those real-world or digital assets. These are fully collateralized assets, so any user can come to Indigo using ADA as the form of collateral and mint these iAssets. From there, they have a wide range of utility, certainly in the wider ecosystem as our DeFi colleagues come to market with their dApps. But within Indigo, we have a lot of different capability with these iAssets, and then obviously, like I said, in the wider DeFi ecosystem as a whole.
Okay, so I can use ADA as my base asset and create these tokens, etc. But what exactly are people tokenizing? Are they tokenizing like property ownership? Mm-hmm. They're tokenizing. What can you give us some use cases here?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to initially launch with synthetic Bitcoin, so iBTC, and iUSD. So this is again giving traders or minters of the system exposure to the price action of assets they wouldn't normally have exposure to. Again, let the wildest imagination go crazy. We can get into a wide range of different asset types and asset classes. That'll be up to the Indigo DAO to eventually approve whitelisting these different assets. That's the beauty of the system. It's all DAO owned and community managed. So we have our initial assets that we're launching with and some future ideas of what we'd like to see. Eventually, though, we'd like to really see the community come to life and present these ideas and really innovate beyond where we're initially thinking.
Gotcha. Okay. Now, I'm trying to understand how that synthetic Bitcoin is created. So you said we use ADA as the base, and then you create a virtual representation of Bitcoin that is fueled by ADA. Is that correct?
Yeah. So ADA is just a form of collateral that you're borrowing the iAsset with, and Indigo tracks the value of Bitcoin. So as you are minting iBTC, it is equivalent to Bitcoin. There's no underlying ownership of the asset that is being tracked, so that should not be confused. If you own a synthetic through Indigo, an iAsset, you don't have redemption value of that underlying asset that it's tracking. You are just exposed to the price action of it. So
gotcha.
For anywhere in the world, someone that has a border or a barrier to entry for an asset class, they can be exposed to these certain assets through a synthetic form. And that is what Indigo brings.
Understood. It's like my aversion to buying Ethereum at the moment, or even mainly Ethereum, just because of all the gas fees. I can create a synthetic of it, own it, and watch the next merge or whatever happens, and ride the price action against it.
Yeah, there are different strategies. You can short or long Ethereum with different strategies. And, I think one of the things that we've seen right now in the community being discussed is, if we had iFTT, that'd be a great thing to short. So, right? So minting synthetic FTT would be a great position right now.
Right. Really, really interesting. So now, during Rare Bloom, you were hinting at the possibility of bringing out iUSD really, really soon, and potentially being one of the, or maybe the first stablecoin on the Cardano ecosystem. What is the roadmap looking like, and is that a possibility?
Yeah, great question. In fact, we've been underway with the Indigo DAO Kickstart campaign. This is really an initiative to bring to life the Indigo DAO so that at launch, the Indigo Protocol is fully owned by the DAO and that the DAO has a healthy launch. Part of that process and part of this campaign in phase 4 actually was ratifying the launch of iUSD, which will be one of the first, whether it's the first or the second or the third, it's going to be one of the initial Cardano native stablecoin solutions. It is a over-collateralized solution, much similar to DAI on Ethereum. Would be a very similar example. So it is going to be, per the community's decision to launch it, very first iAsset that Indigo launches with, along with iBTC. So we're very excited about that because we understand that there is a very present need for a stablecoin solution in Cardano. It is meant to, fill the need. We weren't designing this solution so as to be, the be-all, end-all solution of stablecoins on Cardano. We're problem solvers and solution architects. We saw a need and we intend to fill that need. So, again, we weren't intending for it to be the first stablecoin solution or the last stablecoin solution, just one to help fill the need. And so we're really excited about it. We will have it launched on day one, and it will be available for anybody and everybody with ADA to come to the system and mint iUSD. So we're expecting a fair amount of demand across the ecosystem. We're working with a lot of our DEX partners and liquidity providers to ensure that demand is met.
Wow, this is pretty exciting. I'm just scrolling through my Twitter feed earlier today even. I saw tweets and mentions of saying we really need a stablecoin in the Cardano ecosystem.
Yep.
Yeah, especially with the prices, the market, the bear market, the extreme bear market at the moment.
Yeah.
People want to protect their positions and move off to a stablecoin of something. And this is so needed.
We're having a lot of really exciting conversations with the NFT marketplaces, with other just big players in the ecosystem that understand the need for their own DApps to have a stablecoin solution. So being that iUSD is going to be one of the first, we're anticipating not just a high demand, but the potential for it to become a standard in the ecosystem. And that's a great position for us to be in. Again, it wasn't planned that way. We just so happened to find ourselves in this position where, post Vassal, some of our colleagues are a little, behind and delayed. We're of course rooting them on. We need everybody to come online, but hopefully Indigo's launch and bringing iUSD to the table is one of the first of many dominoes to fall. I expect fireworks in 2023. And so we're rooting everybody on, but iUSD is very exciting because the obvious need is there. And so, it should be pretty cool to see what happens.
All right. Now, you were talking about the whole DAO ecosystem there a little bit earlier as well. And I think one of the things you mentioned was like you had the DAO concept on Indigo from day one. You really drove in that DAO concept and saying that this protocol is owned by the community, owned by the DAO. That is a very interesting approach because a lot of projects like bring in the DAO later on. They'll develop as an afterthought. So what was the idea behind this and how is that whole DAO ecosystem going for you at the moment?
Yeah, great question. From day one, we intended for Indigo Protocol to be DAO owned and community managed. And so the only way that can really happen at launch and in a healthy manner is to really sear it in our community's heads that, this is going to be yours. We're developing it, but eventually through this Kickstart process, this campaign, upstart of the DAO, that's great. We can go through all the motions, but we really need you all to understand and put your responsibility pants on that this is going to be yours and to treat it with a sense of ownership. So from day one, we've really been, very vocal about that. Every Twitter space, a lot of community engagement really reinstills that sense of ownership and responsibility. So I think what you're seeing right now with the Indigo DAO Kickstart is the response to that. That spirit is alive and well. Each phase so far has seen well over 1,000 votes unincentivized in our off-chain forum before we can actually get the protocol launched and introduce our on-chain governance that we've built. But again, I think back to it, it really started with day one, making sure that everybody understood that this was not going to be a centralized or a centrally owned protocol, that it was going to be a community-driven, community-owned protocol, DAO-owned protocol from day one.
Beautiful approach, and it really drives in the community and users for the base as well. Without the users, there's no protocol, right? You spent
absolutely.
all this time building.
Absolutely. Yeah, and what a great story to tell for Cardano, right? I mean, I think it really aligns with the ethos of Cardano that perhaps the first stablecoin on Cardano was actually a community-driven decision to launch it. I think that just is so cool, and that really aligns with Cardano so well. And it's destiny, I guess, is taking shape here a little bit, but it's a very cool thing, right? I mean, I'm very blessed that this has all come together this way. But just the fact that we've been able to generate such a strong community, a vibrant community that really understands what we're proposing to them about the ownership of the protocol, and to really take care of it as if it's their own. And they've embraced it, and they've responded very well. So bringing iUSD to the table, whether, like I said earlier, whether it's the first or the third or the last, to us, it doesn't matter. It's a solution, and but it's pretty cool.
Very cool indeed. Now, is there a token behind the project at all?
Yeah, there is. And so once we get past this whole Kickstart campaign process, which finalizes actually the fifth and final poll is underway now, which is actually the launch proposal. So the community is polling to actually decide to launch Indigo, which is kind of this roll up of the prior four phases. And that was always planned so that literally the launch of the protocol was a community driven decision. Once that happens and the smart contracts are pushed on chain, the token mint will take place, and the distribution happens. The token to power Indigo as the Indigo, the governance token of Indigo is Indy, and that is, so that's the token that everybody can expect, and that's been no secret. So, happy to expand on that if you have some more questions about it. But
yeah, I'll put up some links and references in regards to the token and whatnot, and the token distribution. But for those that don't know, I believe it's being distributed to single stake pool operators. So if you delegate it to a single stake pool operator, part of that alliance, then you'll be able to get some of these Indy tokens as well. Is that correct? Have I missed anything?
Yeah, that's true. That's part of our alignment with the CSPA. And the idea with that was, and that is not an ISPO. I want to clarify that. So typical ISPOs, there's some sort of revenue generating model for funding your operation. We've been completely bootstrapped from the ground up since day one. Any of the token generation or the revenue generation from what would be a typical ISPO model, all of that is actually going to DAO-owned liquidity. So the DAO treasury will actually own any of the liquidity that's generated from that. The CSPA delegators, there's a minimum 10 ADA delegation. That snapshot was recently taken. So we announced that some months ago and really wanted to, serve the underserved of the stake pool operator community and help anchor Cardano's decentralization. Nothing against the large stake pool operators. We need them too. But just as equally as we need them, we need the little guys. So our idea was to support them and get Indy distributed to as many of them as possible and kind of cast a wide net, I guess.
Yeah, I love that approach. It really helps, like you said, with the decentralization of the ecosystem. And for you guys, it gives you a nice distribution of people that are in the ecosystem. Is there a claim process or anything set out yet, or is this still being reviewed and going through the
Great
DAO
question.
as well?
No, great question. So the actual claim process will happen at launch. Any qualified address can come to the Indigo web app, and there is a claim process where you enter in your wallet address. If you've qualified to claim the Indy, then the process is pretty quite transparent from there. You claim your Indy that way. So,
okay, that's really easy. It's nice that you built your own claiming process as well. It's I know there's plenty out there, but it shows that you can actually build a claim process, which is kind of important.
Yeah, no, it is. But I do want to clarify. So even though you're coming through an Indigo web UI, the actual distribution hop process happens through vending machine. So we've built our own UI for it. So you're actually coming to the Indigo web app and you're claiming it that way. So just try and make it one less hop for the users.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. Now, I did have a play around with a testnet version of the protocol a little while back. I went through it. I created some synthetic assets and everything around it. And it was pretty easy. It's pretty straightforward going through that whole interface and doing all of that. Is that still available? Because, you're leading up to this. You want to train people and the wider public to be able to use the protocol before using some real assets. Is that still available for people to play with?
It is. And my PR team and my tech team might get mad at me here, but we're actually we're releasing our public testnet on the 14th. So right now we're about to release actually the instructions to go and claim ADA through that distribution process, so that our users can actually go to the public testnet and mint iAssets. So that public testnet goes live on the 14th. I'm not sure if this will come out prior to then, but it should be pretty cool for everybody. We definitely want to have that kind of burn-in process and get as much feedback and information as we can. But we've already been through kind of that internal testing process, so we don't expect any major bugs or glitches. But this is just for people to get a run at the protocol prior to it going mainnet.
Yeah, I think that's really important. Just getting that experience in, like if they have any questions, they're not playing around with real assets here. They're not losing their ADA. So it's a really good learning process for people.
And to expand on that, we will keep up a testnet environment indefinitely and probably expand on it so that people can go there and actually experiment with Indigo prior to going to the live protocol, the mainnet protocol, and using their own funds and liquidity to make the decisions that they want to make. So it's important that we have that educational ability for folks. So yeah, we're definitely putting some focus towards that, and that'll be a testnet will be up indefinitely.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you. It's I like projects that keep their test nets up so we can keep playing with it. And try. It
takes resources. Sure. It takes resources, but for us, we have. I think one of the things that we've built is a community that's perceived as an educational community, and that's really great for us. We really value that. So whenever you come to the Indigo Discord, there's a wealth of knowledge there. We have a very vibrant and knowledgeable community. You're probably not going to get as many GIFs and memes as you might in other Discords, but we intend it to be that way. So part of that whole education kind of concept is making sure that we have a testnet environment as well. We prefer people to get comfortable with the protocol, what its capabilities are, and really understand it before they come and use it and start using real funds.
Very important. Okay. Now, in terms of funding for the project and the longevity of it, I'm assuming there's some fees in using the platform and whatnot. How is the project funded to where it is now, and how are you going to keep the funding going to keep the protocol online?
Sure. Yeah, fair questions. So we've been bootstrapped from day one. We decided to go the fair launch process because Indigo's one of our mantras is equality and fairness for all, and basically breaking down these borders and barriers of entry that we deem as unfair. So we kind of felt it counter intuitive to that argument if we were to generate some early seed or VC raise prior to launching the protocol. We felt that was the best course for Indigo and what Indigo's future would look like. So we, I guess we're very blessed to be able to fund Indigo and bootstrap it from the ground up. We were in Catalyst for 4 different funding rounds, 2 of which we've closed out. I think we actually lead the Catalyst process in that regard. There's some other ones that have actually been closing out projects, but we very much respect the Catalyst process. We've gotten very little funding from Catalyst. We've only asked for what we've needed. But all in all, self-funded. Yeah.
That's brilliant. And what about future funding? Like is it protocol fees to keep it operating?
Protocol fees exist, but that's really more so the protocol fees don't generate any sort of revenue for Indigo Labs. Indigo Labs will likely be positioned for some sort of raise in the future, but that would, and that's absolutely above board. It shouldn't be unexpected that we intend to grow Indigo Labs and be able to grow the vision of Indigo and bring on key personnel and really talented resources to be able to continue to innovate Indigo. Ultimately, again, back to the DAO ownership of the protocol, anything that Indigo Labs would propose as an innovative idea or upgrade to Indigo has to be passed by the DAO. None of which will happen without DAO approval. But in that case, we would look to, make a proposal for protocol own treasury funds that all exist with on-chain governance. The on-chain treasury is there, and the Indigo DAO will approve whether or not Indigo Labs can seek funding for a future upgrade or future innovation.
I haven't seen a DAO, a company that started as a DAO and the community voting for potential investors in the future. It's very different. So I'm really interested to see how that plays out and how the future of the company, how the future of the protocol goes that way too. So it's a very interesting space to watch and see how things evolve there for sure.
Yeah, we recently released the Indigo paper, which is our own Indigo way of doing things, right? So we combined the concept of a white paper and a yellow paper into one. We call it the Indigo paper. And we recently released that earlier this week. It's really lays out everything, including the tokenomics of Indigo. We thought it was appropriate to reallocate additional token distribution to the treasury just for that purpose. So we kind of envision and foresee having a treasury that is sufficient to fund future initiatives. So 13% of the total Indy allocation actually goes to the treasury as protocol or DAO-owned treasury funds. And that should be sufficient to fund future innovations and initiatives.
That's great. Okay. I'll put a link in the show notes to that yellow paper so people can learn a little bit more about it, especially if you haven't read it yet. So it's good to keep up to date and educated about all those little aspects. What about security audits? Like we're using collateral here. We're having our ADAOZ locked in. Have you been audited yet? How did that all go? What's it look like?
Yeah, great question. We've actually been through 2.5 audits. And I say half because we did a pre-audit before our final audit. We are concluding the final audit as we speak. It's actually, we're in the remediation phase with the, any of the vulnerabilities found have been already fixed and pushed. And then the auditors have now, they're in the review process of them. This is our final audit. As I mentioned, we did a pre-audit before that, which really kind of was a good launch into the full final audit. And then actually prior to that, last fall, we did a full code review then at that time. So of all the code we had built on chain at that time, or that we were intending to have on chain. So by the time Indigo Protocol V1 goes mainnet, we will have been through 2.5 full security audits.
Okay. That should bring peace to mind to a lot of people that are thinking about using it as well. And again, I'll put links to it. Are they all online, accessible for people to see?
The initial audit is. The pre-audit, that's not really a formal process. And then the final audit report will be summarized and released at the time of launch.
Okay, brilliant. Okay, I'll make sure I'll update the video with all those aspects when it goes live with those aspects too. Okay, very cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Transparency and upfront kind of operation is core to what we do. So we've always been transparent and given the community really great visibility into what we've kind of how we've gone about things. So yeah, as much information as we can provide and furnish folks so as to generate that security, we're more than happy to provide.
Now, it sounds like the best place to join the community at the moment is probably on Discord. How do we get there? What's any other channels and mediums that we should be engaging with for anyone that is listening to get involved with Indigo? Where should we go?
Yeah, I would definitely say our Discord is the most active, channel. We obviously have a Twitter. That is really our primary public-facing comms, but ultimately Twitter is intended to funnel people to Discord. I think that's really where the majority of the communication happens. That's where you're going to get to interact with the team on a day-to-day basis. We're very active there. We have all the usual channels, Medium. We post stuff to Medium pretty frequently. But as far as active communications, Discord's definitely where to be.
I'll make sure all the links to everything that we spoke about, the Discord, the security audits, the testnet, if I can grab that from you as well, and everything else are in the show notes. So all the links down below for everyone. Eric, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you and learning more about the protocol, and I'm so excited about this launch. Is there anything else that we need to talk about?
I really just want to thank everyone for the support. I know the Cardano ecosystem is really hungry for the DeFi ecosystem, especially to come online. I can tell you with a great deal of confidence that everyone's really working really, really hard at it. I'm proud that Indigo is going to be mainnet soon, and also rooting on the rest of our colleagues. We're very much involved with what's going on. As you know, the Indigo team, we've spearheaded the Cardano DeFi Alliance, and so we are in really frequent communication with everybody else, all of our colleagues out there, and just continue to ask for understanding and patience. Developing on Cardano hasn't been an easy journey, and certainly now in light of the current market and where things have been over the last year or so, it's made it more challenging on teams. Just hang tight. As I said earlier in the interview, I believe Indigo going mainnet is going to be one of the first dominoes to fall. So I think we're going to see some good stuff here pretty soon. But just want to thank everybody for just supporting everyone along the way, the whole ecosystem, and continue to support us because it's definitely appreciated. It's not lost on any of us.
And thank you and the team there and everything that the CDA do as well in regards to the ecosystem. It's been really good to see you guys grow, the CDA grow, and the collaboration between the entire Cardano ecosystem to try and drive and build DeFi in general on Cardano. So it's going to be a very, very interesting 2023.
And indeed it will be. All right. Thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it.
All right. Awesome. Thank you, Eric.
Cool.
Brilliant. All the links for you guys down in the show notes. Join the community, join their DAO. It's one of the most engaged DAOs in the Cardano ecosystem. So many votes, so much participation. A lot of people are really excited about this one. All right. Now, if you enjoyed this video, if you got something out of it, if you really enjoy everything I do in the Cardano ecosystem, please consider giving me that thumbs up, click the subscribe button, click the notification bell, and I'll see you in the next video.
Yeah, gotta do it like that. You've been listening to the Learn Cardano podcast. Gotta get it hype. Crypto is what we like, but this is not investment or financial advice. Gotta do your research, cause it's risky. We know it is. This show is educational and it's informative. Crypto's the future, really, it ain't no debating.